Hey guys, you probably all saw the title before clicking onto this video, and I just want to make something very clear before the video starts. I have nothing against Pedro Pascal. I don't have any sort of personal vendetta or anything like that against him. The reason why I wanted to get that out of the way immediately is because I don't want people to think that I hate Pedro, or for his fans that are watching this to come after me, type in the comments that I suck and my opinion doesn't mean jack shit, and just type in all those kind of words to me. Some people are probably going to do exactly that and twist my words anyway, but there's only so much a person can do about that. Anywho, I wanted to make this video because I wanted to give you guys my opinion on this topic, and I also want to entertain y'all. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and let's get started. Jose Pedro Balmaceda Pascal. You all probably have seen this guy in at least one movie or show that you've watched. Whether that's The Last of Us, Gladiator 2, The Mandalorian, Wonder Woman 1984, and now Fantastic Four First Steps, Pedro has been in the spotlight for quite some time now. Some people, including me, might say that he's been in the spotlight for too long. This man has been in pretty much every big fucking franchise known to mankind. But why is this the case? And why are we only complaining about Pedro being in too much shit? Well, that's what we're going to be discussing today. So, to figure out how Pedro became as popular as he is today, we need to look at his career. Early on, he appeared in a bunch of shows I've never heard of before. I don't know if any of you out there have heard of shows such as Homeland and Nurse Jackie, but he was in those shows. He was also apparently in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and The Good Wife, which I have heard of before, but am not familiar with. I apologize to all the fans of those shows that are watching this. He took some other small acting roles, as well as some small theater roles during this time too, and this was actually a tough time for Pedro. He was a waiter at multiple restaurants and got fired about 10 times. His friend Sarah Paulson eventually had to give him some of her money because he had less than $7 in his bank account. It seemed impossible for him to make a comeback. But then, in 2014, he appeared in the fourth Game of Thrones season as Oberyn Martell, and this is obviously when Pedro became super popular. Game of Thrones was already a popular show that had a lot of fans, so it makes sense that this would help boost Pedro's popularity. His performance as a passionate and vengeful Dornish prince was loved by both critics and audiences, and he even received a SAG Awards nomination for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Drama Series. After that, he started to star in more movies. He didn't have any major roles yet and wasn't in that many franchises. He appeared in films such as The Great Wall, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, and The Equalizer 2. Despite starring in a lot of movies, he still starred in TV shows, which is where he thrived. He was a main character on the show Narcos, playing a DEA agent who was after the show's main character, Pablo Escobar. The show received positive reviews for the most part and won a few awards. And then, in 2019, a little show you probably never heard of before called The Mandalorian came out on Disney Plus, which just launched, and this right here was my introduction to Pedro. He mainly did voice work for The Mandalorian as he wears a helmet 95% of the time he's on screen, but he was in the scenes where Mando's helmet is off. Anyway, you all probably know what the show is about. This bounty hunter from the Star Wars universe has to protect this young child named Grogu, who is actually 50 years old in human years, but that's besides the point, and Grogu has force powers. People used to and still call him Baby Yoda for a reason. The show was loved by fans and critics alike, and lots of people watched it on Disney Plus when it first came out. Two more seasons came out later on, with the second one also being loved by fans and critics, but the third one was one people were a lot more critical on. Also, Jack Black and Lizzo cameo in one episode, apparently. Still, The Mandalorian was popular enough that a Mandalorian and Grogu movie got greenlit, and it's going to come out next year. I do plan on watching the movie, but I probably need to watch the third season to understand it, as I haven't seen all of the third season yet. After that success, he went on to appear in two sequels to well-known movies: Wonder Woman 1984, the sequel to Wonder Woman, and We Can Be Heroes, a reboot spin-off sequel or whatever the fuck it is to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. He was the main antagonist in the former and was a supporting character in the latter. He also had a major role in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nick Cage, which I thought was a pretty fun and entertaining movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'd give it a watch. He then starred in another popular series, The Last of Us, based on the popular video game series. Pedro played Joel Miller, the main character of the first season, who's, as most of you know, a middle aged man trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. Like the Mandalorian, Pedro has to protect a special young child. This time, though, it's a young girl who he has to protect named Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey. Ellie is immune to the zombie virus, and her and Joel have to travel across the US. It's a pretty straightforward plot. The show received lots of positive reviews from both fans and critics, and it got nominated for and won so many goddamn awards. People loved Pedro in this show. His chemistry with Ramsey was praised. Some people thought that this was his best performance yet, and he even won an award for Best Actor at the SAG Awards. The Last of Us later got a second season, but Pedro got offed immediately because, well, he's supposed to die early on in the second game. After the huge W that was Last of Us Season 1, though, things didn't go downhill, but I think people, including myself, started to notice how many movies and shows Pedro starred in. Now, Pedro is in Gladiator 2, he was recently in Materialists and Eddington, and now he's going to be in Fantastic Four First Steps. By the way, he has major roles in all of these projects. At this point, people started to turn on Pedro a little and even started to make memes of him appearing in everything. He's a really good and super talented actor, but he was definitely being overexposed to viewers. I think now is the time to answer a really good question. Why do people complain about Pedro Pascal being in a lot of stuff? Other actors such as Timothy Chalamet and Ryan Gosling have appeared in a lot of things too, and no one complains about them being everywhere. Well, the answer is very simple. Pedro mainly appears in popular franchises. He's a part of Star Wars, both the Marvel and DC universes, Game of Thrones, Last of Us, and that's just some of the franchises he appears in. People like Timothy Chalamet and Ryan Gosling appear in franchises too, but they mainly appear in biopics or films that don't have sequels or spin offs to them. I also think that Pedro getting cast as Reed Richards in Fantastic Four First Steps is another reason why people complain about him being in a lot of shit. I think that casting announcement really made people realize how many things he's been in. He wasn't even Marvel's first pick to play Reed Richards. Apparently, out of the four members in the Fantastic Four, Reed was the hardest and last one to be cast. Marvel approached people like Matt Smith and Adam Driver for the role first, before settling on Pedro. Joseph Quinn, our new Human Torch, even went to Pedro for advice on the movie during Gladiator 2's production, not knowing that he was in talks to play Reed. When Pedro was officially cast, people, including myself, were questioning this. Something about him didn't make a lot of people go, yeah, this guy should play the smartest man alive. To this day, whenever I see clips or posters of Pedro in the movie, I don't see Reed Richards, I see Pedro Pascal. He obviously doesn't look like Reed Richards from the comics, yeah, but I also don't see him acting like super nerdy or science obsessed from what we've seen so far. He's smart, sure, but that doesn't feel like a main part of his personality. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way he could top Johan Griffith. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I'm thinking right now. Something that I personally don't have an issue with, but other people do have an issue with, is that Pedro gets typecast as the father figure to a young child. The Mandalorian and The Last of Us obviously have him play this role, now Fantastic Four is going to have him play this role again. The reason why I don't have a problem with this is simply because Pedro getting typecast is not as obvious as The Rock or Kevin Hart getting typecast. Like, Pedro doesn't play the same character in everything he's in. It's not like he's a father figure in Kingsman or Materialists. Yeah, he's a father in Wonder Woman and We Can Be Heroes, but in the former, his son isn't a major character, and in the latter, he himself isn't a major character. Still, that doesn't change the fact that he appears in a lot of stuff. So, what needs to change? Our perspective on things or Hollywood? Well, the answer to that question is yes. I do think that we complain a little too much about things, like Snyder fanboys complain about the smallest of things in the new Superman movie, including things that make Superman, well, Superman. I think the same can be said here. I probably should give Pedro the benefit of the doubt because he might end up being a great Reed Richards. He's been great in other things, who's to say he can't be great as the smartest man alive? But at the same time, I think Hollywood needs to stop putting him in so many goddamn things. He's way too overexposed, and I think that's tainting his career a little. Pedro's got a lot of talent, but if he keeps appearing in so much shit, more and more people will get sick of him. It's too much of a good thing. I don't know if Pedro's even tired of appearing everywhere. Next year, he's going to appear in two more big blockbusters, and he's probably going to continue appearing in more things after that. I wish him the best, but Hollywood needs to stop shoving him down our throats. Anyway, that's all my thoughts on this topic. What do you guys think about Pedro Pascal being in a lot of stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to see more content like this. Peace!